going to look at the circumference of a circle. Okay, so we're going to bring some circles into today. Before we can actually start doing that, we need to understand what these different words mean, because we're going to be using them a lot today. So it's really important that we know what all of them mean. When we are talking about the circumference of a circle, okay, the circumference of a circle is this whole outside area of my circle. So when I'm talking about, that is so messy, guys, let me try and make it a little bit neater. When we're talking about the circumference, we're literally talking about the entire outside of our circle. Okay. If I'm looking at the circle over here, the circumference would be this outside area of my circle. If I'm looking at this tissue box, the circumference would be this outside area of my circle. Those are my circumference things. Okay, so when we're talking about circumference, that is what we are meaning. It is for a full circle when we are talking about circumference, which is important for you to know when we get to our juicy questions later. And when we're dealing with it in formulas, we write it as a big C. So whenever you see a big C, that's talking about circumference. Okay. Diameter. The diameter is when we have a line that goes anywhere from one side of the circle to the other side of the circle and crosses through the middle. So that would be my diameter. Okay, when we're talking about the diameter in any type of formulas, we use a little d. That is our diameter. It has to be the full line. And then our radius, let's just highlight this pink as well. Our radius is when we are going from the center of our circle to the outside. That would be our radius. Okay, and when we're dealing with a radius, it's a little r. Okay, what can you tell me do you see would be the relationship between the radius and the diameter? What's the relationship between the radius and the diameter? Who thinks they can tell me? Burlington, yes. Oh, Burlington was here and then Burlington disappeared. Oh, there we go. Hi, Burlington. Can you tell me the relationship between them?
Since you say the circumference is the whole circle,
Yeah.
I must say the diameter divides the circle into half, and the radius divides the half.
Yeah.
Each half of the circle divided by the diameter.
That's exactly it. Okay, so your radius, what your radius is doing is it's cutting your diameter in half. So if this is my diameter, that's a radius and that's a radius. Okay, so if 2 times my radius gives me 1 of my diameter. So basically, what I mean by that is I'm going to just draw a little circle over here. Oh, that is a surprisingly good circle. I feel like I need props for this circle. Am I the only one who's super excited about that circle? Thank you, Marula. Okay, if I draw that circle, and I said that my radius was 4, okay, so I'm telling you that my radius is 4, then what would my diameter be? Don't overthink it. 8, exactly. Okay, and if I had a circle, let's just draw it in a different color over here. If I had a circle, that's a far less perfect circle. There we go. Okay. If I had a diameter and my diameter was 12, then what would my radius equal? 6, exactly. Okay, so your radius is always going to be half of your diameter, or you can think of it as your diameter being double your radius. Doesn't matter which way you want to think about it. Okay. So this page is just looking at the different vocabulary that we use in this section. Not how we're going to use it in the questions just yet. If you want to take a screenshot, please feel free, and then we're going to scroll down and seeing how we can use this. Okay. Remember, if you're having questions as we're moving on, please feel free to pop them in the chats. I promise I keep tabs on what's going on in there. Okay, so what they found long time ago when maths was being formed, they found that every single time they measured a circumference of a circle. Okay, so like imagine you took a piece of string and you measured the whole circumference of the circle, and they divided it by the diameter of that circle. They always got the same number. So if they took this circumference here and they divided it by this diameter, they got the same number as if they took this circumference here and divided it by this diameter. And they got the same, make sure my tea is empty. We'll probably pour tea on myself. Same as if they measured this circumference here and divided it by that diameter. They always got the same number. It was this weird thing that they found out in maths, okay? So that's what this was looking at here. When we took our circumference and we divided it by our diameter, we got this exact same number. And that number was called an irrational number. Does anyone know what it means for a number to be irrational? What could it mean? Suggestions. I'm open for all suggestions in the chat. It doesn't matter how ridiculous they are. What do you think it means in maths for a number to be irrational? Yeah. Lenumta just smashing it in there with like the most perfect answer.
Yeah, just right away.
I'm done. Yeah. Okay. So an irrational number means that it never terminates. Okay. Basically, it never ends. Okay, it's a number that's going to go on and 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 on. Never, ever, ever is ever going to come to an end. You can't find the end of the number because it doesn't exist. Okay. And so what they found is they found this number when they took the circumference and they divided it by the diameter, and they called it a specific thing. Exactly. Yeah. They called it this thing which we are going to be using as pi. Okay, so when we take our circumference and we divide it by our diameter, we get this constant, which is called pi. Okay, so that symbol over there, we say it as pi. And all pi is a number, which is weird to think, but pi is any circumference of a circle divided by its diameter. That is what pi is. Okay. And pi can go on forever and ever and ever. So I'm just going to zoom down over here for a second. If we put pi into our calculator, okay, your calculator will show you that pi is equal to 3,14159265 4. And that's all we see. Okay, that's all we see if we put it into our calculator. But that is definitely not the whole number of pi. Pi keeps on going forever and ever and ever and ever. It never ends. And the reason it never ends is because it's irrational. Okay. Now, we found, Helena, do you remember that guy's name? Have you still got it somewhere?
I think it was 0 something. I already like.
We found that there are people who spend their whole life memorizing these different digits of pi. So for example, if I could like not look at my calculator and I could say 3,1415, then I know the first 4 digits of pi. Okay. And there are people who memorize all of these numbers. Ah, there we go. Thank you. Thank you. And the world record holder of the person who's memorized the most digits of pi memorized 100,000 digits of pi. So that means he stood there and from memory was able to say all of these different numbers and 100,000 of them and got them correct. That was like his life goal. That was what he did. And there's people who do it. It's like a whole thing, and it's like breaking the record of the person before you. Yeah, it's insane, hey? It's crazy. Yeah. I'm really sure he gets paid in the way of like being the person who knows the most number of times. I think that's like just like fame, I think. But it's crazy. Like that's just like that's what he does. And there's all these rules when you recite them, like you're not allowed to take a certain amount of time from one digit to the next, and it's a whole thing. It's insane. But yes, you will memorize 200,000. I like it. You know who probably could memorize 200,000 is Brian.
You're there now.
Yeah. But so pi is a number that goes on forever and ever and ever. That's like the summary of what I'm trying to say over here. Now, most of your schools will ask there'll be like 3 different ways that they'll ask you to work in pi. And whichever way your school wants you to work in pi is the way that I want you to do it in our lessons. I'm going to write it as pi because I'm going to use the calculator, and I'm going to show you how to use your calculator because when you get to the higher grades, you're going to have to use your calculator. But until then, some of your schools may ask you to write pi as 3,14. Totally fine. You definitely can write it as 3,14. Some of your schools will want you to actually use pi in your calculator. Okay, so we're just going to quickly talk about how to do that now. So just grab your calculators for me because we're going to be using it quite a lot today. If we want pi, you'll see down here at the bottom where there's this like little times 10 with the exponent button, and then just above it there's a little yellow symbol, and that yellow symbol says pi. Your colors may be different to mine depending on your calculator. So if I want to get that pi, because it's above my button, I need to say shift. So I'm going to push shift, and then I'm going to push my button for pi. And you'll see on my calculator face, it's going to say pi. Then if I want that number, I'm going to say equals. And again, it's just telling me pi, but I want a number of that. So now I'm going to push, remember the button we learned in our lesson on Thursday. I'm going to push this little sneaky button, which changes something from a surd form into a decimal. So we're going to push that button, S to D, and you're going to see it's going to become a nice decimal. Okay, so if you're ever wanting to get your decimal, that's how we do it with pi. All right, so option 1 in school, they may ask you to write 3,14. Option 2, they may ask you to write the actual symbol using pi from your calculator. Third option of some of your schools, they may ask you to write 22/7 as a fraction. 22/7 is not equal to pi. I just need to be very clear about that. But neither is 3,14. 22/7 is the closest fraction we can get to pi. It's the closest we can get to pi. So some of your schools will ask you to write 22/7 because it's easier to work with some of the questions. Totally fine. You must do the one that your school wants you to work. All right. Okay. So this is just what we were talking about over here. Any circumference of any circle divided by its own diameter is always going to give us pi. And so that's why when we're trying to figure out the circumference of a circle, we're going to kind of work this equation around a little bit. So the circumference divided by the diameter is equal to pi. Fatu, from here, are you feeling lost already? No, it's definitely not wrong to use 3,142. You must do whichever way your school is wanting you to write pi. Okay. So whenever we take a circle, like whenever we take a circumference of a circle and we divide it by its diameter, we get this answer called pi. So now we're going to try and rewrite that equation a little bit so that if we want to figure out the circumference, we know what to do. So I'm going to move that d up there. So if it was being divided, I need to move it up to say times. So my circumference is going to be pi times diameter. Okay. And we spoke about a different way we could write a diameter a little bit earlier. How could I write diameter in a slightly different way? What was our diameter? Think about what we spoke about here. Think about something in this box. What is one diameter?
Y'all can do it, my people.
Yeah, exactly one diameter is equal to 2 of our radius, exactly. Okay, well, so we could write it as circumference is equal to pi times diameter, or we could write it as pi times 2 times r, because that's the same as d. One diameter is the same as 2 of my radius. And some of you will be told to write it like this, 2 pi r. They all of these mean the exact same thing. It's just different ways of writing the same thing. Okay, so for those of you who are panicking, say to yourselves, no need to panic. We haven't done any questions where we're using this just yet. At the moment, we're just understanding where the formula comes from. And then we're going to start doing some questions with them now. But I don't want you to stress. The most important thing at this moment is to actually be able to understand what this formula is saying. So this first part, let's just get a different color happening here. This color, all that is saying is that whenever we take the circumference of a circle, remember circumference is the outside of our circle, and we divide it by the diameter of our circle, we get this number called pi. That is all that first part is saying. Okay. And then we're just rearranging it. So we're saying, well, if we move that diameter up, we could say our circumference is equal to pi times diameter. But we also know that the diameter is equal to 2 radiuses. So we could say pi times 2 times r. So these are just different ways of rewriting the same thing. Before I do this question, for those of you who are feeling lost, this is your time to ask questions. So pop your hands up for me. If you're feeling lost about anything, rather ask now. Let's get it out in the open before we start doing examples. Burlington, how can I help?
I'm confused with this, like the methods. See, I understand the first method, C equals to pi times d, but I'm not understanding these two methods.
Okay.
They're
No,
confusing
that's
me.
fine. That's fine. No, it's okay. So what's happening in the second line over here is when we have one diameter. So if I had a diameter like that, okay, that's my diameter. That's equal to 2 of my radiuses, radii. So 2 radii gives me 1 diameter. So like in this circle over here, my radii or radius is 4, and so my diameter would be 8, right? And so all this is saying, instead of writing a diameter, I'm saying I've got 2 of my radii.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Does that make a bit more sense?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, and the last way is just the way that some of your schools have asked you to write it, but it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Asanda, we haven't done a first example yet, so I'm not entirely sure what you wanted me to explain. If you can try and explain a little bit more which one you're feeling lost with, I'm happy to talk you through it. This is just talking about the formula. No example is done. Okay. Okay. But remember, you can also send direct messages through to Yolanda, and I promise she will help as I'm talking through this. Okay. So in this question, if I'm wanting to work out what my circumference is, remember your circumference is the whole outside of your circle. Okay. My circumference is going to equal, I can use any one of these formulas. So I want you to use the one that you feel most comfortable with, the one that you feel good with, the one that you've been asked to in school, whichever one of those is the right answer, that's what I want you to use. Okay. I'm going to write 2 pi r because I think that's the one that most of you will have been asked to use at school. Okay, so my circumference is equal to 2 times pi times r, and r is my radius. My radius is when I go from the center to the outside of my circle. So in this case, my radius is 4. Okay. Now, depending on what you are doing in class, you must do what you need to do for pi. You can either write 3,14, 22/7, but if you're using your calculator, we're going to say 2 times shift, and then our pi button, times 4 equals, and in our calculator, we will get the answer 8 pi. Exactly, and I'm in Burlington, exactly. Okay, but I don't want it as 8 pi. I want it as a decimal, so I'm going to push the button S to D, and I'm going to get 25,13. Then I need to be careful with my units. We're dealing with centimeters, so I'm going to write centimeters, and that's going to be my full answer. That's all we would have to do. Okay. If you have questions about understanding where the circumference answer has come from, please pop them in the chat or pop your hand up so that we can talk through it. All right. Yeah, so generally, in your final matric paper, on the front page in the instructions, it's going to ask you to round off to 2 decimal places. And so that's why I like to practice rounding off to 2 decimal places. But sometimes different questions will ask different things from you. So always look what the instructions are on your test. See if it says 2, see if it says 1. But if it doesn't specify anything, then round off to 2 decimal places. Yeah, Burlington, how can I help?
I want to ask about, like, as in we are given the, what do you call it, the diameter. So we have to like find the radius, but that number is like, how do you say, it's like odd numbers.
Decimal.
It's
Yeah.
like in the odd numbers. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. So like, in which method can we use like to find the radius?
So
The number?
you can use whichever one you want here. I'll show you some different options. If we're having a look at this second example that's up on the board over here, right? So in this case, they've given us our diameter. So you could use this formula, which is just the circumference is equal to pi times the diameter, or you can stick with 2 pi r if that's what you feel more comfortable with, okay? So in this case, my diameter would be 15, which means my radius is just going to be half of that. So my radius is just going to be 7,5. So you can always write it as 2 pi r and work with the radius, or you could just write it as pi times the diameter. You must do which one you feel more comfortable with. Exactly. So your radius is always going to be half of your diameter, and your diameter is always going to be double of your radius. So now with that information and thinking about what we've done over here, tell me what my answer is going to be for my circumference of this circle. Yeah, exactly. If you're wanting the radius from the diameter, you just divide by 2.
Talking out for new people, Daniela, I see you over there. And other more new people. Shouting out to you guys. Welcome, welcome to the family.
Angela, where is your answer coming from? Oh, there we go. Oh, it was just a typo. Yeah, okay, Burlington, great. Then you want to push the SD, button so that you can get it in decimals. And you're going to see 47,12. And then we need to give our units. It's in millimeters. So we're going to say, oh gosh, that's a lot of M's that I'm drawing there. Millimeters. That would be our circumference. Cool. We're feeling good? Fatu, has the confusion from earlier settled? Do we feel better? Are we feeling okay? Yeah, so Burlington, we always round off to 2 decimal places. Unless they ask for us to round off to a whole number, we would always leave it into 2 decimal places. Okay, good. Okay, Fatu, we've come back around. We're good. Apiwe, don't you worry. I've got some spicy questions for you later. The total for a question like this would honestly be, maybe if you're lucky, they would give you 2 marks, but otherwise they would just give you 1. Because this is just like the basics of circumference. Yeah, if you're wanting to get your radius, you always divide your diameter by 2. Okay, let's look at this one. Okay, so I'm not going to give you the full answer here. I'm gonna draw a couple of things to give you some hints, and then I want you to try and work this out, and I want you to post your answers in the chat, and we're going to see if someone can land up getting the correct answer. I think quite a few of you are going to fall for my trap, but we'll see. So determine the perimeter of the shape. The perimeter means I want the outside of the shape. So I want that green that I've highlighted. I want to know what that is. Okay. They've told you it's a semicircle. They've told you it has a radius of 3.5 centimeters. I would like to know what the perimeter is. So I want to know what the length of that green line that I have done is. Yeah, Burlington, great start. Your diameter is absolutely 7. Okay, so I want you to think about this. As soon as you've got an answer, I want you to put your answers in the chat for me. And then I'm going to start putting them up on the board. So it depends. Oh, we've got a range of answers coming in. I like it. Keep them coming.
You guys are doing so well. Let's go, my people. There's a lot of different numbers.
There's a lot of different numbers.
Debo, I'm seeing you, Mughal. I see you over there. Just giving you some shout out. SK, I hope.
Okay. I'm gonna take you guys out of your misery here. I'm gonna talk you through this. So we've got a whole bunch of numbers up on the board. Okay. Let's go through this step by step. I'm gonna start with just this. Okay. So this, oh gosh, sorry guys. This that I've highlighted, something's quite important about it. Okay. They've told us it is a semicircle. So if I was working out the perimeter of this whole shape, okay, so my perimeter is equal to something plus something. This green part that I've highlighted, how would I work out just that green part? How would I work out the distance of just that green part? That's the only thing I care about right now. And you don't have to give me the exact numbers. You can give me like an idea. Okay, Claw, yes. Okay, great. Pi times r, perfect. When you have a semicircle, we can just say pi times r. If you don't want to remember it as something different, what we're dealing with here is we've got a semicircle, okay? So we've got let's say 2 times pi times r, which we know is 3, 5. But it's not a full circle. My circle isn't going all the way around. It's stopping. And so I have to divide it by 2 because it's a semicircle. So for those of you who've learned it just as pi r, it's because those 2's over here, this 2 and this 2, they cancel each other out. And that's why it's just pi r. But if you wanted to write it as learning it as 2 pi r, it's just 2 pi r divided by 2 because it's a semicircle. Okay, so that's just that green part. Then we have to add this guy over here, which is our radius. Okay, so we're going to add 3.5. And we also have to add the other radius, otherwise we wouldn't be getting our full perimeter. So we're going to add another 3.5. And then we can actually chuck it into our calculator exactly like that. So we can say 2 pi times 3.5 over 2. So I'm just going to write that in over here. And then I'm going to say plus 3.5 plus 3.5. And we get the beautiful answer of 17,99557, on and on and on. Okay. Now, if we are wanting to round this off to 2 decimal places, we would be looking at this number over here. That's our third number. Okay. And that 5 is going to make our 9 go up. But I can't make a 9 go higher than a 9 because a 9 is a 9. And that 9 is going to make that 9 go up, which means my final answer is actually going to be 18 centimeters. So a couple of you got extremely close because you got the 17,99, which I was really, really happy with. But actually, if we were rounding it off, we would get it to 18. And that would be our full answer. So the reason this would not have 2 decimal places is because we're rounding it off. If you wanted to round it to 2 decimal places, you would actually say 18,00. It's nasty, but it is what it is. For those of you who didn't get it, I'm hoping that this makes some sense now. Please feel free to ask a question. Oh no, Marula, why? Tell me where you're getting lost. Let me know. As soon as we've dealt with the questions here, we'll pop down to our brain break. Okay, so the method here, we're just kind of working it out step by step. So if I was working out the full perimeter of this, right, my perimeter would be the green curve plus the purple line plus the blue line. That's my full perimeter. That's why I'm saying P for perimeter. Okay, this over here is my circumference divided by 2. And the reason I'm dividing it by 2 is because it's a semicircle. And then this is my one radius, and this is my other radius. So you could also have just said +7, so plus your diameter. I just wanted to show you what it looks like in sort of breaking it up. How did we get to the 18? So the 18 happened from rounding. So when we round up, we always look at the third number, right? So this 5 over here would make this 9 go up to 10, which would make this 9 go up to 10. And so if I wanted to round this off to 2 decimal places, it would actually look like 18,00 centimeters. And that's purely from rounding. But I'm less stressed if you're struggling with this step. And as long as you're understanding how we get to there, then I'm actually happy. Okay. Okay, I think let's pop down to our brain break, and then we'll come back and we'll do some more questions like this. See where we get to.
It's time for break.
Time for Brian. Will you answer me right? So I hope it actually depends on how strict your teachers are being. If they are being very strict, they may answer it wrong. But I think at this point in grade 9, they would definitely give you the mark. You're done with Brian, Yundela. Brian hasn't even greeted you today yet. It's so hurtful. Brian has brought you, back by popular demand, Brian has brought you dingbats today.
Yay.
So for those of you who are new, Brian, this is Brian, this weird brain man. Brian brings us a little brain break halfway through our lesson, just to give us like a bit of headspace, clear change before we carry on with some maths. So he has brought you 3 dingbats today. Dingbat is a picture, and you have to try and figure out the word or the sentence or the movie or the book. And today, because we are learning about pi, all of the words in the dingbats have pi in it somewhere. Hint, hint. Okay, let's see how you guys go. First one.
Don't be trapped by people. You can do this. We can do it.
Oh, Yandela, you're very close. Tomato pie, Bellington.
That's definitely not tomato.
Cherry pie. No. Ah, there we go. A P-way. A P-way. We stole it from Yandela. We're like, he was so close. It is
Well
most
done.
definitely, this is a pineapple. So this was our pie and an apple. So pineapple.
Definitely you're a boss, P-way.
Pineapple. Yandela, you were so close because you had pie and you had apple. You just didn't make it a word. Brian told you the answer. Oh, got you. Okay. Okay. Number 2. I think you guys will be fine with number 2. Let's see. Let's move down. Number 2. Pie eyes. Yandina, what is pie eyes? Pie sight? Popeyes? Pies? No. Although I like pies. I actually feel like you deserve a point for that. Ah, there we go. There we go. I spy. So there are eyes and they spy. So eyes, spy, I spy, I spy, I spy. Marula, what is happening today? You're normally so on the ball with these. Exactly. I spy with my little eye. Okay. Last one for the night. Oh, okay. I like it. I like the start. Oh, so close. Guys, you're on a very, very good track here. Ooh, I don't want to give you a clue because I know someone can get this. It's not Pirate Island, but you're very close. Just think about how many rats there are. Hint, hint. See how we took a terrible turn there. I feel like you guys need a clue. Okay, my clue to Bayar. My clue here. Oh, no clue. Okay. Pie of rats.
Ulutanda though, so close. Oh.
Okay, your clue is that it is a movie. Seriously? Not even with that clue, guys? Yes!
Yes,
finally.
done.
Pirates. It's because there were more than one rat, so it was pirates of the Caribbean. Pirates of the Caribbean. We got there. Pirates of the Caribbean.
That was his
Pirates,
vacation.
and this is the Caribbean.
Someone mentioned pirates
Stabbing me
vacation.
with your hus.
Okay.
Ratatouille. No, Ratatouille doesn't have the word pirates. I told you we had a theme going.
My people, y'all are amazing. My pimps.
Okay. Let's pop down to this question over here. Okay. So for this one, for this question, I want you to think about it super carefully. You're going to have to do multiple steps in this question. Okay, so because we're sort of just learning about circumference, I'm going to kind of try and break things up for you a little bit. I want you to first think about how you're going to find that side. Okay, so I want you to think about how you'll find that side. So I want you to think about our previous lessons to find that side. I want you to think about how you would find that side. And then I want you to think about what the value of that side would be. Okay, so my perimeter, when I'm working out my full perimeter here, my perimeter is going to be this purple situation plus this blue situation that I'm gonna have to figure out, plus this green situation. Okay, so if we can figure out the blue and the purple, we're good. I'm seeing very good answers coming into the chats. My suggestion is trust your gut, go with what you think you should do. You're on a solid track. And this question would be worth a lot of marks. So I want you to do it like nice and carefully and make sure you're happy with your answers. And you're welcome to do it as like different parts. So you can first like work out this and then work out this and then work out this and then add them together. Or you could write it all as like as one sentence. I'm happy with either. Burlington, be very careful with that. I think that what you're meaning is that the diameter is 16, because the diameter definitely is 16, but the purple isn't our diameter. Okay, I like it. I like what's coming through there. Just one step at a time. Yeah, good. Your diameter is definitely 16. Okay, so Tembeliche, it might be because you weren't here when we did Pythagoras, but in order to find NN, we need to use the Pythagoras theorem. Appealing. When we have a brave soul, I would love for you to pop your hand up and talk us through this question. Whoever is feeling brave, I'd love to hear from you. Burlington, I see your hand. I love it. I appreciate it. I'm going to try and encourage we have more hands only because I've heard from you tonight, not because I don't love you. So if we have more brave souls, pop those hands up for me, just so we can share the love around a little bit this evening. Because you guys are just letting Burlington take all the hits for you tonight. Okay. Lenomta, I've not heard from you tonight. This one is going to be all yours. I'm going to give you guys one more minute. I'm going to give you one more minute at 6:48. I'm going to call on Lenomta to go through this with us. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to remember this. And on Thursday, I'm calling on you. Also, I'm pretty sure that Yondela owes us like 3 answers. In the back of my head, I remember a deal we made. So yeah, I'm pretty sure you do. Okay. Okay. Lenonta, we're all yours. Talk us through what to do.
Ma'am, I started with the blue part.
Okay. So tell me
So
what
I
you write.
said mn squared equals on squared plus mo squared.
What do I have to write next to all of that?
Pythagoras.
Thank you. All right. Next line.
Mn squared equals 8 centimeters squared plus 15 centimeters squared.
Good. Okay. Keep going.
Mn squared equals 64 plus 225.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mama said Mn squared equals 289.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, Mn equals 17 centimeters.
Perfect. Okay. So we know blue is 17. I love it. Perfect. 100%. Okay. Tell me where you went to from there.
So Mama, I just wrote D equals 16 centimeters.
Okay. Sure. So
And then I said P equals pi
Mhm.
R plus D.
So I'm just going to write it in the same way that we were writing just now. So I'm going to write 2 pi times 8 over 2. But if you wrote pi times 16 over 2, then that's also fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool. Okay. So that's our purple and our blue. What's our green?
Ma'am, I think Mn is the same as our M, ma'am. But
Good. Can you
I'm
tell me
not
why
sure.
it's the same? You're 100% right. They are definitely the same. Why would they be the same?
It's an isosceles triangle. It looks like one.
It is, okay. If we have a look here, this is the center of my circle, right? Which means that this is also 8 centimeters. And so they're exactly the same triangle. They're congruent triangles. And that's why this would also be 17. But you're 100%
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
Okay. So what would my final answer be after working all of this out?
Ma'am, I got
Yeah.
75,23.
I think you may have not divided something by 2.
Yes, ma'am.
I think something happened here in the purple. So if I'm working out just that purple, for those of you who are needing help with just the purple, that would be 25,13. So just to check, if you guys worked it out separately, that's what you need to get for your purple. I think all that happened there is that you just didn't divide by 2.
Yes, ma'am.
So we should get the beautiful answer, 59,13. Nice job, though. You did really well and you explained it beautifully. Good work.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so what we're looking at here, marks-wise, is you would definitely get at least 2 marks for dealing with your Pythagoras. So by being able to get to that 17, you would get at least 2. I actually think they would probably give you 3. You would definitely get a mark for understanding how to get that semicircle, and then for adding those 2 17s, and then an answer at the end. So you would get like 5 to 6 out of this, 5 to 6 marks out of a question like this. It's a lot. How did this go? Like, where are we sitting with it? Are we feeling good? Are we feeling terrible? Are we understanding? My dramatic party. Good, nice. Okay. I'm gonna go and have a look at one more question for the evening. Oh, sorry, if you want to take a screenshot, please feel free to take one, and then I'm gonna zoom down and we're gonna do one more question for tonight. Nice job, Danielle. But you know, man, hope I don't have time to go over this question again, but remember, all of these lessons are recorded and they will be online in less than 24 hours. So within 24 hours, you'll be able to watch it again. Okay. I want us to, should we do something nice and easy to end with? Let's do something nice and easy to end. Okay. Okay, so we're going to look at B for this question. So they have told you that the perimeter of the quarter circle below is 25 centimeters. I don't know if maybe this is too mean for you right now. Hold on, that might be too mean for you right now. That might be too mean. I don't want to be too mean. Okay. This, I feel like this is less mean. Okay. I don't want to be mean for
The
your
best
last question of the
buckets.
night.
Exactly. You don't want them to just battle in their
panic,
head and feel like they didn't understand anything.
Exactly. Okay, so this is saying the figure below is made up of 4 semicircles and a square. Okay, so there's a square happening in the middle. So if this middle part is a square, that means that AB is 6 centimeters. What does that mean about BC? What would the length of BC be? If good, okay, because it's a square. Okay, so that means that this is also 6 and this is also 6. Okay. I want to know what the perimeter of my shape is. The perimeter is that green area that I have just highlighted for you. I want to see who can do this. There's a very quick way to do this. I'm trying to, I want to see who can figure that out the quickest way. Definitely not 24 because pi is involved. And as soon as we have pi, we're going to have decimal numbers. So what I'm wanting as my answer here is I'm wanting the distance of that green that I've highlighted. So I want the perimeter of this shape. So I want you to think about what that looks like. We've got some brain buffs here. If I got rid of that square in the middle, how many circles do I have? How many full circles do I have? 2. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So if I have a look at this, if I took this semicircle with this semicircle, that makes 1 circle. And if I take this semicircle and I add it to this semicircle, that makes a 2nd circle. So if I was wanting to do this in the quickest way possible, I could actually say that my perimeter, remember when we work out the circumference, it's 2 pi r, right? Okay. And we've got 2 circles that are exactly the same. So we can say we've got 2 pi, and then r would be 3. Let's just write times 3. That would be the quickest way to do this. And so what we would land up getting is 12 pi. So those of you who got to 12 pi, big well done to you. And then we can just chuck that straight into our calculator like that. And we would get the answer of 37,70 because of rounding centimeters. There's obviously long ways to go about this, where you could work out each semicircle and then add them together, but this is just the